everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to teach you guys how to make sausage and peppers, Italian style, just like the carnivals. So you're going to need a pound, this is actually 19 ounces, but of Italian sausage. These are mild. I really like sweet, but sweet wasn't available. Olive oil, a red pepper, a green pepper, a sweet onion or Vidalia onion, some garlic. I happen to use minced jar garlic today. Whole oregano, salt, and pepper to taste. It's that simple. First thing we're going to do is preheat the oven to 350 degrees. And we're going to put our pan. We're going to take a sheet pan and line it with a piece of pop-up foil. This one's ripped, but it really doesn't make a difference. It's just going to help ease the cleanup a little bit. So for regular sausage and peppers, I'm just going to roast the sausage, and then if we were making sausage and pepper pasta, you would either use ground sausage meat or cut the sausage meat out of the casings, okay? Now we're going to slice the peppers and the onion. First remove the label. And I don't know if you guys have been around for a while, you've seen me slice peppers, but I like to cut the side off and then cut around the core. I always use the bottom stem and throw out all the seeds and everything. This is usually a pretty good technique to get out ribs and seeds and everything. And then there is two schools. Some say cut on the shiny side of the pepper, it grips better to the cutting board. And some say cut on the inside of the pepper because it grips better to the knife. But, you know, whatever you want. Just cut the pepper into strips, okay? Now we're going to drizzle olive oil in the bottom of the pan. You want a fair good bit amount because we're going to do quite a bit of peppers and onions we're going to saute here. So then I'm going to go ahead and throw the cut red peppers in there, and then go ahead cut the green pepper and the onion, okay? The reason we want to do the peppers first is they just take a little bit longer than the onions to soften up and cook down. So if you're new to cutting an onion, sweet onion or Vidalia onion, sort of like flattened onion looking, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to work with. cutting off the stems, but you cut off both end stems. I like to cut it in half from stem to stem, or from end to end, tip to tip, tip to end, that's it. and then peel off anything that's golden color. Alright, and I do both halves. And then I'm going to French this onion, which I believe is the technical term, which is basically cutting wedges out of it. You could cut rings, like if you could cut a parallel with the stems, but I'm going to cut wedges out of it, so you will see here in a second. Lay it down flat and just go in and cut out these big chunky wedges. Okay, let's see that one more time. Lay it flat, cut in at an angle, and just cut, turn around, and you see, and cut these wedges out of it, alright? And you can use your hands now to break up the wedges, but when it cooks down, they'll be easy to break up. So one of the things I want to do here is I look at my pan and I realize once I have everything in there, I need to add a little bit more oil. And whenever you're first cooking down peppers and onions, or even just onions, you want to go ahead and salt it. Salt breaks down the cells of the peppers and onions, of the vegetables, and releases their moisture and helps them caramelize and cook down a little bit better. Okay? And then I went ahead and reduced the pan to medium from high, so I can go ahead and cook down. I'm just using a spatula, but you guys, you can use a slotted spoon or whatever. I just like this so I could be able to scrape the pan. Alright, and then I'm just using it to pull apart some of the onions, the big chunks. Alright, and I'm not, like I said, it's going to cook down, they'll separate quite easily. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and just saute these. We're going to toss them around, make sure everything's coated in oil and salt. And then we're going to go ahead and put on a cover and allow it to cook down for a bit. You just want to go ahead and stir it up every once in a while. You don't want any, the ones that are touching the bottom to get too much color while the rest of them are still waiting to cook. So just stir them occasionally. I shake the pan to level out the vegetables. And also I shake the pan before I take the cover off to get the steam off the top. And then I reduced it to low. On my stove, low is pretty high still. Low is a little bit above what would be simmer. My stove just holds on to the temperature. But go ahead and watch. You just want to make sure that they don't get color faster than they soften. Okay? And that could happen, so just be mindful of that. So they're starting to cook down really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and add extra olive oil. And the reason we're doing this is because we're actually creating almost like a sauce that the sausage and peppers are going to sit in. And we want the olive oil to get flavor with the peppers and the onions. Alright. And then in a little while we're going to add a little bit more with the garlic. So hang on to that. Now we're going to go ahead and add our garlic, and I'm just using minced garlic from a jar, and I'm just going to use a regular cereal spoon. Okay. I've just used one heaping cereal spoon. I think it's equivalent to probably 2 or 3 cloves of garlic, but that is also subjective. What do you like? I would say a minimum amount would be, for a pound of sausage, would be 2 cloves of garlic, but if you like it extra garlicky, go ahead. So make a little well in the center of the pan, move all the vegetables out of the way, add a little extra olive oil right in the center, and that's where we're going to drop our garlic. Why do we do it this way? I don't know. That's what Dad taught us to do it, right? I think it's really because it's where the pan is the hottest. So I actually added a little bit extra that I was going to because the jar was almost empty. So I probably put the equivalent of 3 cloves of garlic in there, okay? Thanks. Why was my earring go missing? You guys can see the onions are just becoming translucent. A tiny bit of color on them, and then the red peppers have a little color on them, so they're cooking a little longer. And they're starting to lose their vibrancy, which means they're softening up. Okay, and green, they're softening up. So now's the time we can break apart any of the moons of peppers, or wedges of onions, I'm sorry, that haven't broken apart yet. They get all smoggy. Not yet. Now we'll add the oregano. So at this stage, if we were making peppers and onion pasta, we would add the oregano, the teaspoon of oregano, which is the secret to making it the street fair secret. Salt and pepper. But if we were making sausage and pepper pasta right now, this is where we would add extra olive oil to flavor the olive oil up, and extra seasonings. Like this, because the olive oil with a little butter at the end becomes the sauce for the pasta. Okay. Check our sausage. Just let that saute a little bit without the cover. Okay, so see how they've got color on them? Cover towels, please. It's just in right there. So they're starting to get color, and when you turn them over, that's what you want. Right there, that's what you want. These are done. Okay. Have a good night, okay? Now I clean my cutting board. That's why it's wet. And while they're still hot, I'm going to cut the sausage. I'm going to catch all of the juices in this cutting board and transfer all of the cut pieces and the juices, even these juices, right into the peppers. Let's not lose anything. Okay. So the way I like to do it, or my dad had what we like to call asbestos fingers. He used to be like, that's nothing like my dad's. So what we're doing is we're cutting the sausage on an angle. Now, sometimes you could serve them whole if you want to, but this is more economical. Where everybody can have a little bit. 5 sausages could stretch over 7 or 8 people, depending on how much bread you have. And another way to make it stretch is the sausage and pepper pasta, because when you decase them, they really make a lot of meat. And or if you get a pound of the ground meat, which actually we said this is 19 ounces, right? But if you get a pound of the ground sausage, you can make it stretch a lot further. Pasta is a great way to stretch out meat. If you have a large family, a pound of pasta, some chicken legs for cacciatore. It is a very, very inexpensive way. Now, if you have your own tomatoes and you can your own tomatoes and stuff, of course, that's always the best. But, you know, canned tomatoes used to be so much cheaper when we were growing up. My poor dad, towards the end of his life, was like, what's happening here? Tomatoes used to be like a giveaway. Okay. So, all of this juices, that's why we clean the cutting board, so we can scrape all of the good Italian sausage juices. Okay? And really, these are not. Believe it or not, that's it. You can go ahead and let this amalgamate a little bit if you want. To let it cook down together a little bit. You could taste it, obviously. If you like it saltier. Some people like more oregano, some people like less. I always found that a teaspoon to a pound of sausage is usually pretty good. So that's 1 pepper, 1 onion. I'm sorry, 1 red pepper, 1 green pepper, and 1 medium onion. And 1 pound of sausage. 1 teaspoon of oregano, salt and pepper to taste, and olive oil to cook and coat, however you like. So you can go ahead and serve this on a bun, on a side of rice. I'm just going to eat it as it is, as a high protein, good vegetable dish. Okay? I hope you really enjoyed this recipe. If you try it, let me know. If you like heat, go ahead and use some Italian sausage. My dad liked heat, and he told me that a blend of hot and sweet was a good choice. But, you know, I'm a wimp. So if you remember, I've been around for a while, you know I'm a wimp. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave any questions in the comments down below. Maybe I skipped a step that I forgot to tell you guys about. And if you, don't forget to share this recipe with friends and family. And let me know if you try it, okay? Share it with the family and let us know how it goes, okay? Take care, everybody. God bless. Bye. Pepper, a red, a green, some onion, and some sausage. Just like home. Have a good night.